Welcome in all of the wonderful people watching out there, whether you are live and in the live stream right now, drop a comment, let's see who's out there, or you're catching the replay because you're hard at work at Congruity and you're saving the world and you just weren't able to step away for right now. Totally understand. We also encourage you to leave a comment on the video. And today, we're going to show you guys how you can get even more involved on the Instagram, because we are going to show you directly taking some of your questions and then putting them onto the show. This is the Congruity 360 YouTube channel, and this live stream in particular is Congruity Corner. We are on episode 11, and today we're going to talk about post-quantum compute security. It might sound aggressive, might sound like a lot. Our job is to make it digestible, informational, whether you are hearing that term for the first time ever or you're someone that works with it every single day. We want a live stream that is for everybody to have food for thought, great conversations, and truly showing you what Congruity 360 does and why they are absolutely some of the best in the world at all things data management and cybersecurity. My name is Dan C. Bearded. I am the host guiding this show with very little experience on these topics, but I'm learning every week, helping others learn, and it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to be here. And the man that also helps guide the show has years of experiences with live streams, even more years of experience with cybersecurity and data management and in the tech world. This is Mr. Nick Phelps. Nick, looking handsome as ever. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great, man. Doing good. Just living with my cape tucked under the back of my shirt, saving the world one data center at a time, like we do.
Yep.
No, it's no small task, but here we are doing it.
And we've mentioned it a few times on this stream, but a new, would it be a product? What would Viking be considered? What would be the classification?
It's a platform. It's a product offering. It's a solution.
Okay. A new product offering solution platform coming to Congruity is going to be called Viking. And if the slogan is not all heroes wear their capes on the back, I'm going to be super disappointed. Like super disappointing. It's Viking themed. You got Nick on it. We're going to have a Viking photo shoot. Not all heroes wear their capes on the back. I don't know if we know a guy or anybody, but we got to make that happen. That is the perfect slogan for it.
I mean, it is. So I mean, like you look at the opportunities that exist here around product marketing. I mean, there's clearly a great case to be made here for plushies. I think number one. I mean, this is an easy plushie win. I finally get my marketing plushies, Dan.
Right.
I'm gonna get them. I've been trying for what, 5 years now at every angle I can get to get a mascot or a logo or something turned into a plushie. So
and it hasn't happened yet, guys. Not yet.
It hasn't. No, I've been barking up the wrong trees. I've been saying the right words to the wrong walls.
Who was it Stuart's wife that did the knitting for some of the I don't know if it would be considered a plushie or a mascot or what, but I know we showed it off on a stream. Was it Stuart's wife?
It was. Yep. And I believe cool. I believe the technical term for what she did there was amigurumi.
Yep, didn't know that.
Wow. Just picking up some vocabulary today. Not everyone knew that was going to be happening.
All right, but let's say hello.
There. Is it amigurumi?
That sounds right.
Amigurumi. It's the Japanese art of knitting and crocheting small stuffed yarn creatures and objects. So I mean, I'm pretty sure that nails it on the head there.
Of course, you would know that, Nick. Of course.
You know what's funny is when he first showed me that, in my head popped the word amigurumi, and I was like, "Why is that in there?" Not really sure.
Manifested itself into your brain.
I have no idea why that's in there. I really don't. That's one of those ones where it's like, well, no idea.
And he said, yes, it was Katie's handiwork. I'm pretty impressed that I remembered that pulled out, because we didn't talk about plushies in the green room, you guys. This was not a planned topic.
There was no discussion.
And Stuart, hope you're enjoying that retired life. And if we can say hello, we got Christopher in here. Let's go. We've got Leo. We've got Jill. We've got JB, Stuart. G Squared, welcome you guys. If you're able to get involved in the chat, I highly recommend it. It's really fun. We're building a special vibe and community here, and I appreciate you guys. We already have 20 people in the stream. Let's see if we can get those thumbs up to match it. If you guys want to share this out, I have a unique ask. If you have a way to share this on LinkedIn, that would be incredibly appreciated. Of course, Instagram, Facebook, texting it to a friend, emailing it to a friend, but LinkedIn, it's really cool when I see people having like our clips or even the full show being shared out. That is something that I really think can reach new people and the people that would find this very useful and interesting. And we got OD checking in from Florida this week. Dude, OD, it feels like Florida here. Currently, it is 95 degrees in Michigan with a high of 98. That's not feels like. That's not heat index. That's the actual temperature. In just a matter of like an hour or two, it's going to hit 98 degrees in Michigan.
That's not super common for you guys, right?
No.
I mean, like how you guys got to be breaking records with those kind of.
Yeah, we're like 10 to 15 degrees above average. We're peaking out. Yesterday was super awesome. We lost power for 8 hours because our area couldn't handle the pull on the grid, and so yeah, it was only 95 though, you know, no worries. And
no big deal.
Man, yep, it was hot. It was very, very hot, but I know I'll remember these days when it's in the heart of our harsh Michigan winter. I'm going to embrace it and just try to balance the shade and the AC and stuff. And my kids, for the first time ever, they are at like an outdoor YMCA camp all week. The hottest week in Michigan, like history.
Go figure. Yeah, I mean, that's the week it happens. So they're going to be indoors playing Xbox, coming home wound up on board games.
Well, it's water week, so it's all outdoors. They don't really have any electronics or anything there. It's like pretty rugged type camp. But good. At least the whole week is pretty much spent in the lake. Like yesterday, they did water tag with sponges and all this kind of stuff. And they're going to go canoeing and kayaking and everything. So they'll be all right. They'll be all right.
Nice. Yeah, they're going to survive. It sounds like they're going to make it.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, let's dive in, because this is a topic and we can go on any tangent. There's no rules. So if you guys have a question that is related or unrelated, or you want Nick to really dive into a topic that could have to do with congruity, please put it in the chat. We'll do our best to make it happen. We love a good side tangent. We love a topic that can go in different directions. So today, Nick, we are talking about quantum computing, post-quantum computing here. And I put up on the Instagram page for this live stream, it's Congruity Corner live stream. If you guys want to check it out, I'll actually link it in the chat here. You can go directly to this story, and you would even be able to submit your own questions if you guys want to go look that up. And I put out an option for questions. I do want to give a quick shout out to Donald. I gave him a little, he's in the chat right now, I believe. I gave him a little bit of love here because he submitted questions, and I know Donald personally, and so I knew he didn't mind me throwing the name out there. The others, I don't know personally, so I didn't put your name on there. If you submitted a question, you're like, why didn't Dan shout me out? I didn't know if you wanted your name on it or not, but just know that we really, really appreciate everybody, and greatly appreciate these questions. And I love this one to begin with, Nick. And again, guys, this is directly on the Instagram page for Congruity. The question simply states, for someone hearing about this for the first time, what exactly is post-quantum cryptography?
So post-quantum, so PQC, post-quantum computing, refers to, you know, the state that we're gonna that we exist in after quantum computing exists, right?
Okay.
And so it's actually it sounds like it must be more complicated than that, but it really isn't. We're living in it just simply means we're living in a post-quantum computing world. And what PQC means in the security world is that we have the ability to run quantum safe encryption algorithms on non-quantum based computers, right? So if we're going to be introducing PQC into the world of networking, for example, it's not to say that all the networking gear that's going to become quantum safe and quantum hardened, right? And we'll talk about what all that means here in a minute. right? It simply means that we're going to be introducing quantum safe technology into non-quantum computing environments. So the idea is, how do we protect our non-quantum computing networks and systems in a post-quantum compute world where, obviously there's going to be machines out there running that have a superior unfair advantage over non-quantum compute platforms as far as their ability to process large amounts of data. So, it's just the act of introducing quantum safe security into non-quantum computing networks.
Okay. And to strip that back one more layer, because we want to make sure we're on the same page for terms and breaking it down. Quantum computing. It is an absolute buzzword right now. Now, how do I know it's a buzzword? If technical words make it into my day-to-day existence with people that are not on this stream, I know it's a buzzword, right? I can go the next couple of days and there will not be a day where I don't hear about data centers. That has become a buzzword. That has become, right? My power went out yesterday, as I just said. I posted on the local Facebook group looking for information. Do you know the amount of comments about data centers taking our energy and stuff? And we don't have one near me. It's not bias, but it's just in pop culture now. Quantum computing seems to be one of those things where people throw it out there, but actually have no idea what they're talking about. And I would love to, when you explain what it is, I would love to hear your thoughts on that too, because I would imagine that has to be difficult when you know something super deeply and you work with it, and people just throw out the most surface level, oftentimes wrong information. But with computing, I understand computers are very black and white. It is a 0 or a 1, right? Very, very, very simple. That's the world I know. How has quantum computing changed? What is the difference of this laptop that I'm on? What's the difference of a normal computer to quantum computing?
So I'll preface this. When you watch, financial like videos, or you watch something about stock trading, or you watch something about about betting or trading, that always has the disclaimer: this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
Previous results are not indicative of future outcomes.
Yeah. Read the fine text, guys. Yeah.
I feel like I have to preface this with, I'm not a physicist.
Okay. Fair. Me either. Guilty.
So, not a physicist here. There are physicists in our audience who will.
Which is crazy that you're about to answer a question about computers, and you had to clarify to me in the audience that you're not a physicist. That's crazy, dude.
Not that kind of doctor. So, if you've been here along for the ride up to episode 11, you'll understand that one.
Yeah.
If not, you'll have to go back and watch. So I'm thinking, the best way to really describe it is they're different at their core for a number of reasons, and no pun intended for being different at the core. Processor core, you get it? Okay. So the biggest distinction that you'll find between regular computing and quantum computing at the surface level, they're a whole lot better at doing a finite number of tasks than current computers are. So some facts about them, right? They're super fast. They require lots of cooling. They're really expensive. They're made by physicists in clean rooms, right? So like, there's some things that people just kind of inertly know, I think, about quantum computing, and that's some of those things. And we can get into, like, I have a little fact sheet that I put together just to kind of remind myself of some of the statistics that we can talk about here in a bit. But the biggest difference when you get down like to the first, I guess you'd call it technical level, is everyone knows that computers are based on bits, right? Everyone hears the term bits. It's a small fraction of data. You got bits and bytes and megabytes, right? You got all the things.
Yeah.
And so, with computers, the individual level of processing ones and zeros are processing individual bits of data. And in the world of quantum computing, they're qubits. And what's the difference between a bit and a qubit? Again, if you're not a physicist, what's the difference, right? And the difference there is a bit can represent a 1 or a 0, and it can be here or it can be there, right? And so it's in one place at a time, and it is one thing at a time, and that's a bit. A qubit breaks those rules because of things that we've because of things that we've discovered in the world of physics over the past, I'd say really recent science, like over the past decade.
Yeah.
We have superposition, which is one state of that a qubit can be in. And then you have entanglement, which, everyone hears the term out there, quantum entanglement. Things can exist in two places at once, and it's sci-fi, and it's teleportation, and it's all of these things, right? It's really none of those things, and but all of them at the same time. So really, if you look at it at that first technical level, what it means is a qubit can actually represent a 1 and a 0 at the same time, right? That's superposition, and it's a technical term for a simple concept, really. That in a very complicated way, you get the very simple result of a qubit can represent a 1 or a 0 simultaneously. It can be both, and it can also, because of entanglement, a qubit can actually its state depends on the state of another qubit. So instead of it just being on its own little thing, this bit is here and it represents a 1. A qubit can be impacted by the state of other qubits. So in a sense, right, they're entangled, right? They're intertwined. The state of one depends on the state of another. And so if you think about what that kind of does for a computer, if a computer depends on 1s and 0s being there and able to count bits and be able to tell the difference between a 1 and a 0, if you're trying to do a complex calculation, like a complex math equation, and you're evaluating numbers, well, now all of a sudden you can evaluate numbers that are multiple numbers at the same time. So instead of having to run through threads of, let's run through this thread of numbers, then let's run through this next thread of numbers, and let's run through this next one. Now all of a sudden you can create these dimensional data models that represent multiple points of data at the same time.
Jeez.
So that, and the scary part about all that is like scratching the surface, very basic, like lip gloss explanation of what quantum computing is. To most people, what it really means is I think it matters most what the impact of quantum computing is, and really what it means to the world of existing traditional computers, right? I think the impact and the application and those sorts of things are going to start to be what matters there. And the technology about what it is, it's going to start to get further and further and further abstracted. It's whenever a technology is new, we have the propensity to sort of break down why it's different, right? And break down how it works, because to illustrate why it's different, once in a while, you need to know how it works. But then you keep going, and eventually people stop caring. And that abstraction layer becomes very, very dense, and you don't really look past it. Like, it's kind of funny to me is that you look at like electric versus internal combustion engine cars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Look how many people are driving around in Teslas and in other electric vehicles. How many of those people have actually asked, like, how does an inverter work to get power from a high voltage lithium system into a motor versus the 12-volt system that powers the stereo in this car?
Next to none.
How many times has that question come up standing on the lot at a dealership? And it's funny that we do it with certain things, but we don't really do it with others.
Yeah.
Things get to a point where we just stop asking. It's like when cars first went from internal combustion engines to a hybrid, I think people were really curious about the hybrid side of that. Like, what is it doing? Is it a generator? Is it a motor? Like, what are you running on in the car? Right. And then all of a sudden it kind of went from electric first hybrids instead of gas first hybrids. And then it went into full electric. And people were like, yeah, car. And I think that's what it's going to get to with the level of complexity with computing. If workloads go to the cloud, for example, and they happen to be running on a quantum backed system versus a traditional backed system, eventually no one's going to know, and you're not going to know the difference. And the two are going to be so intertwined, working together, that it's going to fall back to all being this one thing of data processing again. But right now it's new, and it's potentially scary. And it's getting a whole lot of news. We'll talk about why here in a few, and we'll talk about what some of that news is. But really at the end of the day, what is quantum computing? It's a physics based way of computing that uses qubits instead of bits, and therefore it's inherently different in the way it processes data. And PQC is the idea of how do we keep traditional environments safe from adversaries that could be leveraging that kind of technology in order to break into a traditional computing network.
Okay. I like it. So just, evolving with the technology. Now,
Exactly.
we have these computer abilities right now. This is not something we're looking forward to, because for me, it always had seemed like once quantum computing gets here, what are we going to do? Once it's here, it's functioning, we have it.
Yes, it is very much here, very much functioning. It's here. We have it. We're leveraging it for all sorts of things. Google has them. IBM has them.
Okay.
Just about every. And then the craziest part about it is there's new companies popping up that people just haven't even heard of that are creating new, more efficient quantum computers, and they're producing more of them a year. And what's crazy, what kind of lets you know that it's just a whole other world is when people are talking about their ability to produce quantum computers from like a manufacturer standpoint, they're still quoting how many they can build per year.
Okay. Wow.
Just to give you an idea, or of the complexity and this scarcity of some of the materials that go into them, and how involved it is to build them. I just talked to a company who's a manufacturer of quantum computers and PQC security appliances, and they I think they just said that this year they're going to be able to make 12 of them.
Wow.
Last year was 8.
Wow.
And so it's just there's still we are in the days of quantum computing where we were with regular computers in the 70s, where they were the size of a room.
So that's where I was going. And
absolutely, that's where we are.
I looked up pictures because my mind wants to go to see what it is. And quite literally what you just said, it seems like the days when you would hear about an entire room being a computer, and then now we have not quantum, but we have an unbelievably powerful computer that we carry around in our pocket all day. It used to be a room and not do anything like this. Do these pictures seem like it is what you know to be what these quantum computers are today?
Yes. Absolutely.
That's wild.
100%. They're in labs, they're in big rooms, they're usually dangling like chandeliers from a ceiling.
Wow. and they're going over, so room temperature, and then I'm sure it has to do with the heat and the way it all is processing through it. And you can only imagine, especially with the help of quantum computers, they're just going to continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the rule of computing basically is that, right? Efficiency goes up, size goes down, power consumption goes down. We start by throwing really large scale tooling at problems, and then we scale those down because I think that it's the issue with all advancement is you have to you start with a big bucket of stuff. And you realize that maybe only a quarter of that bucket is actually the important part. That's really the piece you need to focus on, right? And then so it's like the other 75% of the bucket starts kind of slimming down to help support that 25% that actually drives your core functionality more than you knew. And I think that's how, the initial boom and then immediate shrinking of footprint and consumption and power and all those things kind of happen all at the same time.
That makes sense. Okay, next, you pulled some stats that I don't even know if I have the ability to like fully comprehend. It's like for most people, one of my favorite like simplest stats is showing the difference of $1 million and $1 billion, and how people just most people can't really, they hear a millionaire and a billionaire and they're like, oh yeah, rich people, but the difference of $1 million to $1 billion when you stack like $100 bills is just insane when you see the models.
Yeah.
This is that on steroids. Hit us with some of these facts of the difference with quantum computing, because this is crazy.
Yeah. So some of the things we're going to get into talking about today depend on some of these numbers too.
Okay.
So it's, you don't need to write them down or anything, but just remember that we talked about them. You look at if you look at a regular computer compared to a quantum computer, there's a couple of things that Google published a while back. They have their supercomputer, or I'm sorry, their quantum computer is called Willow, and they basically have said that they did a benchmark test that in 5 minutes was able to crunch through what the world's fastest supercomputer would take 10 septillion years to get through.
in
Um,
in septillion years. So if
that's
we were
10 to
to,
the power of 25.
that's crazy. That's crazy.
It's just,
Absolutely crazy.
they feel like fictional numbers, don't they? I mean, fictional numbers. They really do. It feels fake. Like there's so
Well,
like
the name
another
is
one.
Septillion. Like that absolutely sounds like a Star Wars character.
Absolutely, it does. It sounds like the septillion system. It sounds like, well, clearly we're jumping into hyperspace. And so you look at that. Right along with it, Google published another set of numbers, and this was from the craziest part about this is that this is from 2019 from some of
Oh
their
my
original models. So this is 6 years old of some of these
God.
experiments they ran. But they basically said that it's for qubits and processing, what takes a normal computer 10,000 years takes 200 seconds. So if you take the same math from before, 5 minutes versus 10 to the power of 25 years, what takes regular computer 10,000 years, regular supercomputer 10,000 years to do, takes 200 seconds with quantum computing.
And like computers are fast, right? I do stuff. I get a website. I get a post. I get a thing immediately. Like it's fast. It's not like we're sitting over here and having these ancient things. And to be able to even have that kind of multiplier, it's just, how do you go from A to B like that? It's so crazy.
It's there's another number that it's not published yet, but they were just talking about breaking an encryption algorithm with quantum computers and how it would take, and the number is not real yet, but when they publish it, it's going to be really cool to look at. They're putting together like an aggregate footprint chart of all of the computers in the entire world, as opposed to comparing it against a supercomputer. Like, what happens if we take every computer and every phone in the entire world and combine them together and compare that to the processing speed of one quantum computer and what it can do to break algorithms? And they were basically saying that it would take, for this one encryption algorithm, it would take every computer in the entire world something like 10 years to be able to crunch through the numbers required to break this algorithm. And it can happen with a quantum computer with the same set of numbers in less than 10 minutes.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
some of the comparisons that are coming out are just absolutely wild. But I mean, things are literally moving at in some cases, they're moving at the speed of quantum entanglement, which they're still trying to figure out, but it, seems to be faster than the speed of light.
Yeah. And then kind of to wrap it up there, and again, this is versus a supercomputer too. They measured it and they had to put like just a whole number to it. It was outperforming it by 13,000x.
Yep.
A multiplier of 13,000. Wow. Absolutely nuts. And when I heard of quantum computing and faster and more ability, it never crossed my mind to think about cybersecurity. It never crossed my mind. All I thought about was like all the amazing things we can do, but that's such a naive way to look at it. It's something so powerful. You have to consider these things. You have to consider what they can use them for, and how do you prepare for that? How do you battle that? I'm so glad that this topic is brought up, because it is very interesting to think about how do you prepare for this, and how do you get ready? And you had mentioned something that I'd heard before, and it's the breaking encryption. So my layman's understanding, I've heard of in the pop culture encryption when it comes to messaging, right? You have different platforms that will encrypt your messages so it doesn't make it easy to be able to get them. And then there's the whole controversy if it's involved in a crime, should the company of the messaging agent give that information to the government and not, right? We've heard of those things. What does that mean when it comes to breaking encryption when it comes to this quantum computing?
Okay, so there's a number. Okay, so when you look at a number of ways that we keep things secure, you look at logging into your bank website, and it's doing a couple of things there that involve encryption, right? The communication between your phone or your computer to your bank is encrypted.
Okay.
Meaning that it is wrapped in it's encoded in a way where it's a super complex math equation that can really only be solved if you have both sides of a key. It's a public and a private key, they call it.
Okay.
So there's the public key that's out there that it gives you, and then there's your private key that only you have, that's unique to your session. And that, when you have those two things together, you can then see the traffic that's inside of an encrypted session. So what that means is when you connect to your banking website, any information that you exchange between your device and your bank, if anyone was in the middle watching that conversation, they wouldn't be able to see what it says. They wouldn't be able to tell. It would just look like garbled information, garbled numbers. And unless they had your private key somehow, they wouldn't be able to put together the other side of the piece of that puzzle to be able to decrypt that traffic and see it. So things like your name, things like your username that you type, your password that you type on your computer and then hit submit, and that goes to the server, gets decrypted and comes back down and shows you your banking website. So all of that is happening inside of, you see the little HTTPS in front of the web address, that means that it's encrypted, with TLS. That. Yeah. So HTTP versus HTTPS, the S at the end means that it's a secure HTTP connection. And that uses a certificate, and that uses a certificate, and your traffic's encrypted. It uses something called TLS. And there's a number of ways that traffic can then be further encrypted inside of those things.
Okay.
Now, that's your session to your bank. Now, your bank has to know your password is right? So it has to store your password. But if your bank ever got compromised, you don't want anybody to be able to just get your password, right? So they have to store your password encrypted. So once again, encryption becomes part of the equation. And it's yet again another complex math equation that's wrapped around the information and absconds the real, data source. And it leaves unusable data, right? And so encryption is really, if you look at it, it's a method of keeping data private, either at rest or in transit, by using complex math equations to make it unreadable by anyone who doesn't have both sides of a public and private key. Now, why does that work? Well, it's because we created a math equation that is so painfully hard to solve that it would take too long to solve it before the information you're trying to get inside is no longer relevant.
Okay.
So it's not that it's unbreakable, right? You look at like encryption at its core, you look at cryptography at its core, given enough, thousands of years, my laptop here could make enough guesses where it could eventually figure out how to break an encryption algorithm, right? Most popular one that we'll talk about is like AES 256. Like that's what your bank information's encrypted with. That's what your passwords are stored with. That's what your vault on your phone that stores your passwords, that's what it uses to encrypt your passwords on your phone, most likely. There's a number of other ones, and someone is sitting there with a propeller on the top of their hat right now, flicking it, saying that I'm getting this wrong. And there's a bunch of other ones that are at use in the vault on your phone, and it's not AES 256, but for an example, generally speaking, that's a very, very prominent encryption algorithm that you'll see out there.
Okay.
For data at rest and data in transit. Now, in theory, my computer could break AES 256. It might take it 10,000 years to do it.
Okay.
So in 10,000 years, is my password relevant? No. Is the balance in my bank account relevant, or my ability to transfer money with Zelle in and out of my bank account going to be relevant in 10,000 years? Probably not. So we don't care, right? It's an accepted risk. We say that it's a it's a lock that someone could pick, but it would take them so long to do it. The building would no longer be there by the time the lock got picked to let them in.
Love that explanation. That makes sense, right? Just make it as hard as possible and take as long as it can possibly be. Okay, got it.
That's right. Now, you compare that. So, like, what is everyone so worried about with quantum computing? Well, we just talked about how, because of the way that it's different it's fundamentally different, and it can chunk through different types of math problems very, very fast. And we just saw here, talking about some statistics, that we can solve things in 200 seconds that take other systems 5 years, right? Just large, a very, very, very huge delta exists.
Massive.
So now the challenge becomes, we've all depended for so long on our encryption algorithms being intensely hard to solve. What happens when quantum computing's around and we can give it a big bunch of data, say it's encrypted, go solve it? I don't have a key. Now, all of a sudden, quantum computing, instead of taking 10,000 years, can solve that in a day. So what happens when every single bank on the planet, every military agency, every government agency, every healthcare organization, every website, everyone is using encryption algorithms that are breakable by an emerging technology? Like, what do? Do you make the emerging technology stop emerging? Right? You can't really put the genie back in the bottle. That we've proven that it doesn't work. We've talked about it with AI quite a bit, right? Like, what do you do with AI if we wanted to put this genie back in a bottle? If we all just decided all at the same time, like, bad idea, guys. Let's not do this. It would never happen, right? You're not going to take away people's toys once you've given them to them,
right?
And so the world of quantum computing is no different. It's here. It's going to become more and more prevalent. It's going to become more and more accessible, less and less guarded. And next thing you know, people that have bad intentions are going to have access to quantum computers and the ability to apply it to nefarious actions. And it's a fact of life. If once you invent a new capability, people are going to exploit it and use it for bad reasons.
Yeah. And especially if you think about like an adversarial country, for example, if they were able to do that, if you want to cause mass hysteria, you can go in and with our banking, with our currency being more and more and more digital every day, right? I believe we talked about finally getting rid of the penny. Like, we are continuing to go more digital. You come in and disrupt the like numbers on your phone that show how much money you have in your bank account and start messing with that. Yeah, that's a quick, easy way to disrupt an entire country just based on the banking system alone, let alone medical system, let alone tapping into the, like, let's say the lights, the traffic lights. I mean, there's so many things that I'm sure, like you said, have a very difficult wall to get through. If they can do it like that, whoo, yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different world.
Man.
It really is. And it's, there's I mean, it just is. You look at people's ability now to access this stuff. You can now get access to quantum computers through public resources. You can rent computing time on them if you have enough money. Some of them are $10,000 and up an hour if you want to be able to run processes against them. Like people that are doing like genome research and other cancer research. Like they're leasing time on quantum computers from big companies who have built them and managed them and have procured them from the labs who are producing them. And they're paying $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 an hour to run calculations on these computers.
Well, if you're taking away massive amount of years of the amount of money it would cost to pay people to run things, yeah, that's probably a massive deal for them. They're probably greatly saving.
Yeah. No, they absolutely are. Now you got to start to, where my head starts to go. We just watched on the news, without getting political, we're watching a big concern over countries who have nuclear power, right?
Yeah.
And whether or not they have nuclear capabilities. And, the UN and the rest of the world has come together and everyone has agreed that only people that should, have nuclear capabilities are people that can be trusted with it and are gonna follow the rules, right? What's going to happen with quantum computing, right? If you have a capability, if having nuclear power, nuclear, weapons is what makes you, what gives you the ability to disrupt another country to the point where it's not recoverable, what happens in the world of regulated quantum computing, right? If you're able to dysregulate a whole society because of your abilities with quantum compute, to me, that's almost it almost becomes the nuclear power. It becomes the enriched uranium of the computing world, right?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I'm a former history teacher, as most people know. If you want to disrupt a nation, if you want to disrupt an empire, all you need to do is create chaos within the population. And like the Romans would do the gladiator fights to keep people calm, even when life wasn't good. This would, I mean, if you change those numbers on someone's phone screen for their bank account and then you do it countrywide, I mean, that is a digital, yes. I mean,
that's full on World War III happening without ever, anyone ever putting boots on the ground anywhere.
Immediately. Now, to kind of stay on that topic, and I ran this by you because I believe you know a little bit on this, and it's on the headlines, and this is as real as real gets. I mean, you cannot have a more like legit aspect, and that would be Executive Order 14412.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with this?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
My past couple of weeks have heavily revolved around this executive order.
and again, guys, this is from the White House, and it's right here. Securing the nation against advanced cryptographic, I might even say the wrong, attacks.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. What's going on here, and what does that mean for a company like Congruity?
So, it means a lot of things for a lot of companies in our space. What was the exact date? It was 2030, December something 2030. It has it. So basically, it's going to be, I can pull that up here, number 4. So yes, sorry. It's basically saying that by December 31st, 2030,
okay,
basically every government agency, every federal system must move, anyone that deals with federal connectivity must move to PQC safe encryption methodologies before 2030. And so, I mean, it was 2035, then it was 31 at the time.
Wow.
And now it's been pulled back to 2030.
So it's speeding up.
And if you look, what's Pete, who we had on last week, he's dealing with this quite a bit because he obviously, almost all of his work is in the federal space.
Right.
So every one of his customers is scrambling to figure out how they're going to meet the demands of this executive order.
Wow.
And now if you're someone out there in the industry who kind of knows, if you think about the equipment that people buy and that they put in data centers, if you think of firewalls and you think of edge routers and all these things, you think of SD-WAN and all this stuff that's out there that uses external public connectivity, they're basically saying that anything that uses any of the traditional encryption methodologies that we use today need to move to PQC safe, quantum safe cryptography.
Wow.
And so if you think, take Palo Alto Networks, for example, or any other big firewall manufacturer out there, right? If there's 2 of them that are linked together over the public internet to connect 2 offices together, like over a VPN, like people do.
Yeah.
Right. That means that encryption algorithm, the keys that manage that encryption algorithm need to change to PQC compliant encryption methodologies by December 27, 2030. And traditionally speaking, if you didn't get creative and find creative ways to this complex problem to solve it, you're basically left replacing those pieces of hardware with newer hardware that's capable of handling these standards.
Okay.
So what it means to us, what it means to our partners, and what it means to a lot of our customers and a lot of the vendors and partners that we deal with, manufacturer partners, is we need creative solutions to complex problems like usual, but we need them fast, and we need them at an order of magnitude and scalability that's never been demanded from anything before.
Wow.
And so it really is a crazy requirement, and it's a
Yeah.
lofty order, right? I mean, that's so now how do you do that? Well, you clearly can't go around and replace every single firewall with quantum computers now, right? That's not going to happen.
I say it's
So
not
how do
possible.
we leverage quantum compute capability in order to make these links safer without replacing everything in the world with physics-based processors that do things do things at a quantum level?
Yeah.
Well, we now need parallel solutions that live alongside of these existing technologies that introduce quantum safe key management and other technologies that allow us to harden these links in a way that doesn't require replacement of all the hardware that maintains the links, because it's just
Okay.
not feasible. So the executive order is intense. I mean, it basically
Yeah.
means that over the next 5 years, over the next 4 years, not even 5, over the next 4 years,
Yeah.
we have to, one of the things that we're going to be doing, one of the things that we're going to be helping people with quite a bit, and one of the things that we're working with our partners to help develop technologies and processes to do, is people are going to have what they call a C-bomb created over the next 4 years, which is a cryptographic bill of materials. So you need to have an understanding of not only what's in your environment, like usual, like a map, a diagram of your network, like an architecture diagram.
Okay.
You're now going to need to highlight inside of that architecture diagram which links between different pieces of equipment and what data in your environment actually is encrypted with potentially at-risk cryptography. And so you're going to have to detail and inventory all of that. And that's going to be a huge undertaking in itself, is just,
Yeah.
asking people to show you exactly what's in their environment, to show you an active network diagram, is challenging.
Now,
Asking people to then show you an accurate network diagram that has every one of their encryption algorithms detailed on it is just a whole new level. And then coming up with a roadmap of, all right, how do we now put things in place that secure these links in a way that's going to make them compliant with 14412, right?
wow.
It's a huge challenge, and it's approaching at record speed. It's like a tsunami's coming, but it's the sirens are going off way ahead of time, because this particular tsunami is moving very quickly.
This seems like a really good analogy from G Squared here, and let us know if this is accurate. So it sounds like, obviously, getting quantum computing to fight it just isn't possible. You said a company said last year they made 8, this year they can make 12, right? It's just not going to be possible. So instead, there's no one size fix, and it's compounding and making it as difficult as possible. So G Squared said, so it's like your house. You have a door, you have a lock, you have a deadbolt, a key combo, locks on your windows, security camera at your front door. All of those things are working together to keep it safe. Is that a similar approach?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I guess that's absolutely defense in depth is what you're describing
Yeah,
there.
there you go.
And that's what creates a secure environment. What I would say, though, G Squared, is take your analogy one step further. Right now, you have defense in depth, right? You have a door, you have a lock, you have a deadbolt, you have a key, you have a combo, you have windows, and a security camera. Now, what happens when all of a sudden on Temu, anyone could go buy a $5 device that they can just plug into any lock and unbolt any deadbolt? Like it's like a real live skeleton key, right? And someone comes out with it, they put it on the internet, it's $5, and anyone can go out and just get access to one. And now every single deadbolt in the entire world is useless.
Jeez.
That's the analogy that we're working with here. So yours was a perfect springboard for this,
Yeah.
dude, because Look at what you have now. What would you have to do if all of a sudden there was this? And let's pretend it wasn't even a skeleton key. Let's pretend it was like a little mini lightsaber that just melted your lock and you just push the door open. That's quantum computing. Forget about the amount of time it takes to even pick the lock with a skeleton key and turn it. You're just like lightsaber boop, and you're just melting the lock and pushing the door open, and away you go. The parts just fall on the ground. What would you need to do in order to create a safe barrier from that new technology, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't create a laser grid around every single house in the world real quick and make it impenetrable from lasers, right? You'd have to come up with something that rode alongside your existing security mechanisms to thwart the attempt of that being able to work, right? Like something that would deflect the laser, something that would do something that worked along so your traditional stuff was still there and still defended you against traditional attacks, but you had something riding alongside of it that was an advanced system that knew how to defend against the new threat. That would be the comparison to like what we need to do right now with quantum computing. And it really is. I mean, it's like changing the wheels on the bus while it's going down the freeway at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, what's that look like? We don't know. You need to figure it out. That's the approach. And for me, it's super interesting because we have private business and entities, and now we have the government and public, and the government is saying we could have a real national security threat based on these private businesses and how they operate. And so they had to step in and say, because of what we are gathering information-wise, you need to make it by this date. And then even more alarming, they're like, nope, sorry, it needs to be faster. That tells a whole lot of what they're seeing.
Oh yeah, it does. And the reason they're doing, the reason it's accelerating is because we're starting to see these attacks in real time.
Right.
Think about the example we talked about. Remember we talked a while back about dwell time in like an attacker in your environment, and
how
for anyone
it's
who
changed.
Didn't see it, just to recap what dwell time is there was a statistic published a couple of years ago that said the dwell time for a ransomware attack on average for attacks that made the news and made disclosures was like 160 days. And what that means is on average, those attackers were in the environment, in the systems that they ended up encrypting or, ransomware attacking for 160 days before launching the attack. They were there gathering information, gathering data, exfiltrating, trying to figure out what normal looks like, right? Like all the stuff we talk about here. So now imagine this. In those attacks, those people, you had to figure out what was there in real time, decrypt things in real time, and take things that were unencrypted and hold them hostage for ransom, right? Now, imagine this new world. You can harvest. This is like the harvest now, decrypt later concept, HNDL, right? Handle attacks. And when you look at these, they're extra scary because the dwell time no longer have to decrypt and decipher all the things that are in an environment while you're there to find what's valuable and take it. You can literally grab a bunch of encrypted data with no keys, no reconnaissance, take it, exfiltrate it, and keep it. And then you can have quantum computing sit there and hammer on the data set until it solves the key. And so now you don't even need to worry about what you're collecting, if you're able to decrypt it or not. You grab whatever you can, and now you can apply logic and compute power to it later and break the encryption of that data. So now your attacks become more efficient. So now people can get in and out of environments much faster, thereby reducing their dwell time, relying on post-processing. Just like how, it used to be when you shot a film and you're on the set of a movie and you had to do things in one take in order to get things through. The world of that is gone, right? Just like when we shoot a movie now, you can gather a bunch of different footage. You can gather it with good light, good audio, bad audio. You take it all, you put it together, and what do? Oh, you fix it in post-processing, right? You hear that all the time. And now it's like, okay, we'll attack it in post. We don't have to worry about it now. We'll worry about it once we get to it. And so that's the real threat is how do we start protecting against that stuff?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. One last one. We got 5 minutes here, and at least we can start it. Maybe it'll be for a future week. And to me, this is super practical, and this is takeaway. So NIST finalized new standards in 2024. If I run IT for a mid-sized company, which we have a lot of mid-sized companies that tune into the show and have even reached out before, what are the first 3 things they should be doing, or the person that is running the IT for those companies, which we literally have in the chat, which is so cool, should I be doing about PQC on a network today, right? You talked about a gargantuan task that's ahead of the industry. What are the actionable steps that can be done now?
So your worst enemy is the one you don't know. Right.
That was the art of war. Yes, sir.
Yep, it absolutely is. Know yourself and know your enemy. Actually, if you follow those exact rules, let's just look real quick at Sun Tzu there.
Sun
right?
Tzu.
He actually gives you all the steps you need
right away.
There. He does, and it's fantastic. And it's right from which dynasty was that? You look at the rules haven't changed from that long ago. In that, know yourself and know your enemy. So the first rule, know yourself. You can't protect what you cannot see is kind of one of the taglines that I've always operated under. And so the first rule, the first goal is to start inventorying what you have. So understand where at-risk encryption algorithms live, understand what they're doing, and build yourself. Do what the White House mandate says. If I were running IT for a private organization right now, what I would do is I would adhere as closely as humanly possible to mandates that come out on executive orders like 14412. And what I mean by that, even though I'm not government, even though I'm not regulated by the government, if I saw that order, I would say, okay, I need to start inventorying what I have for cryptography, and I need to start understanding what my CBOM looks like. Like, where do I use RSA keys? Where do I use, is it on my VPNs? Is it in my SD-WAN? Do I encrypt things between data centers? Start understanding where at-risk encryption algorithms exist. So that way, when you have a way to fix that problem, you at least know what the breadth of your problem is and where you need to fix it.
Okay.
Number 2 is definitely start understanding, as you're consuming new technology and you're consuming things that could leverage potentially at-risk algorithms, you want to make sure you understand the roadmap of your vendors and how they're going to make sure that they're adopting to the newer standards. And so understand that if you get something into your environment that's not PQC today, that's not PQC safe, and it doesn't have, you want to make sure that's at least on the roadmap to support those types of things from your vendors, right? You don't want to get locked into something that's going to put you in a bad place. In 5 years, you're going to have to replace it. And I guess that's probably, I'd say the two biggest things to start with is really just understand what you have, understand the capabilities of your vendors and what they're going to do to address these things, and understand what you can leverage out of their portfolio to help you meet the standards faster. And then really, anytime you get the chance to start leveraging a modular technology like TLS with hybrid TLS and things like that, when you're configuring things, start considering those options now, because those are the things that are going to help you integrate to some of these solutions down the road that are PQC safe and are going to help you conform.
Awesome. I love that. Did not have the Art of War on my bingo card today, but I don't know if a more perfect fit for that topic right there.
I mean, really, dude. I mean, that's it. Again, it's like, I forget the whole line, but it's something like, if you don't know yourself, but you know your enemy, you're going to fail. If you know your enemy and not yourself, it's kind of the same. But if you know yourself and your enemy, you're going to not have to worry about the outcome of the battle. And that's kind of it, right? Know what they're looking for, know your environment, know what you have, know what they have, and know how you can start adapting.
Yeah, spot on. Man, I learned a whole lot today, and I'm equally parts excited. I'm equally parts a little bit terrified and interested above all. And it sounds like a heavy task on the plate of many, but If there's going to be an area that's going to get it done, it's going to be Congruity. It's going to be the people behind them. It's going to be the U.S. Man, I'm excited to see where all of this goes. As we're in slight overtime, but any final thoughts to wrap up the conversation here, Nick?
No, I think the last wrap up
I agree.
really has it covered. And I mean, again, just to reiterate, is pay attention to the executive orders coming out. Right? You know, it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if you see things coming out that are applying to federal agencies, just maybe put yourself in a little bit of a what would I do if I was in that situation and I was regulated by these entities, and just start that level of planning. And I mean, you're going to be ahead of the game.
Yeah, they have a little bit of data that's coming into them for the reasons why they're doing that we don't have available. So yeah, I would pay attention. That's a great point there. So awesome, you guys. Thank you for rocking with us. We had great numbers today. It was one of our more technical days, but that's what we're here for. We're here to get into the weeds, to understand these things, and to allow people to ask questions, to drive it further. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We are an open roadmap for what you guys want to talk about and discuss. So please do not hesitate, number one, to reach out to Nick. A lot of people have felt very comfortable going to Nick because they probably work with him and interact with him. Please keep the ideas going. If you funnel it to Nick, it's going to come to me. And then also reach out through the Instagram page if you want some questions and topics. I can't promise we'll cover them all, but they're all stored. And who knows, maybe if it's not next week, we have a future week where it will make a lot of sense. So we will be back here, you guys, same place, same time, nothing but consistency. Next week, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I just want to say thank you for giving us a slice of your time today. If you're on the replay, leave a comment. If you're in the chat and it ends and you still have thoughts racing, please leave a comment. Nick, final words for our friends out there.
No, man, keep them coming. Keep the questions coming. Keep the topics coming. This one was fantastic. Wouldn't have figured out how to do it without you guys. So keep them coming. Stay safe. And just remember, you can't secure what you can't see.
Woo-wee. All right.